Assuming that you haven't been hibernating recently, you'll know that Germany has just held a national election. This was an election to the Bundestag, which is a part of Germany's parliament responsible for choosing a chancellor and making laws. As I make this video, the preliminary results are in, and they're pretty much as expected. The SPD and the Greens have lost seats. The FDP has failed to get a single seat in the Bundestag this time. The CDU-CSU has gained seats, and the AfD has roughly doubled its vote share. The Bundestag is elected using a system of mixed-member proportional representation. Each voter gets 2 votes, one for a local representative and one for a party list. In theory, then, each constituency sends 1 representative to the Bundestag, and then the party list votes are used to add more members until the proportions match the votes. The downside is that this can result in a bloated parliament, so there are some restrictions in place. A party can only be represented in the Bundestag if it gets at least 5% of the party list vote or wins at least 3 constituencies. The 3 constituencies rule is new, and it's to avoid bloating the parliament. The previous Bundestag had 739 members, making it the second largest legislative assembly in the world, beaten only by the National People's Congress of China. Under the new rules, the number of seats in the Bundestag is set at 630, which is still quite big, but more like the size of assembly that the debating chamber in the Reichstag building was actually designed for. The downside is that there are now 23 people who won in their constituencies but will not now be going to Berlin. An exception to these limits is made for parties that represent national minorities, and this is how the South Schleswig Voters Association got a single seat. It represents the interests of Danish and Frisian minorities in the state of Schleswig-Holstein and won 1 constituency there, not surprisingly, right on the border with Denmark. So this is how the results translate into seats, with the CDU-CSU now the largest group. It's actually 2 parties, but they form a single parliamentary group, often known simply as the Union. Its Chancellor candidate Friedrich Merz is the most obvious choice for Chancellor. But he needs the support of more than 50% of the Bundestag, so ideally he's going to need to form a coalition with at least 1 other party. And this is where things might get a bit interesting. Looking at just the figures, the obvious coalition partner would be the AfD, so we would have a right-wing government with a left-wing opposition. But the AfD is a very controversial party, and all of the other parties have said that they will refuse to work with it. You may remember not so long ago Merz causing controversy by relying on AfD votes to get a motion passed in the Bundestag, which has led many people to speculate that he might actually consider a coalition with the AfD. Such a move would be even more controversial though, and I think it's unlikely. In the war on Ukraine, Merz has always been critical of Russia, but the AfD seems to be on Russia's side. Now, Donald Trump's recent remarks about the Ukraine have put this subject back at the top of the agenda, so I don't think that Merz is going to want to have a pro-Russia party in his government. So I think that before Merz even considers approaching the AfD, he will try to form a coalition with the SPD, which would give him a 13-seat majority. If that fails, he could turn to the Greens, but that would leave him 22 seats short, and in that case he would need to try to persuade Die Linke to join. But that, again, is something that he'll want to avoid. Coalition talks are going to be tough, but Merz says that he's confident he will get an agreement in place by Easter. We will just have to wait and see what happens next. But he needs the so I think that well, I guess you're never going to know what I think.